This is Hemet.
And Jessica.
And you're listening to the Friendly Atheist Podcast. Please go to patreon.com/Friendly Atheist Podcast to support this show and get your bonus episodes and ad-free episodes. Mm-hmm. And it's the beginning of the year. I'm going to announce something that I've been working on for a while now because, as some of you who have been in the atheist world have been aware of for like 10, 15 years now, there has been historically some problems with some problematic people. And in an effort to try to change that moving forward, I'm excited to announce I've joined the Creator Accountability Network. CAN is a nonprofit dedicated to reducing harassment and abuse through ethical education and a system of restorative accountability. I joined because I care about the safety and well-being of my community members. If any of you listening feel my behavior or content has harmed someone, I encourage you, please report it to CAN either via the reporting form on their website, creatoraccountabilitynetwork.org, or via their hotline at 617-249-4255. They will help me make it right and avoid repeating that mistake in the future. CAN also needs volunteers from our communities to help with their work, so if you have skills you think would be helpful or time and a desire to help, please visit their website to find out how you can volunteer. And most importantly, get the word out to other creators you respect, admire, who you think would be interested in getting credentialed, and help us build safer communities together. And with that, it's been 2 weeks since we have talked about topics in the news, and I figured, I don't know how much you know about the Freedom from Religion Foundation / New Atheist kerfuffle that has been happening.
I've been skimming over the top of it. Once in a while, I'll open up Blue Sky. I saw that Jerry Coyne said something stupid. Once again, said that I'm no longer feel guilty that I was very hungover when I interviewed him in like 2014. So I think he's gotten his comeuppance.
There you go.
And then somebody wrote a response, and I believe you hosted it on your blog.
There's all kinds of things. So I'm going to try to
the broad strokes,
you got the broad
especially
strokes.
The part that was about me personally.
Yes, which was the important part. So I'm going to try to explain what the hell happened and why it makes me mad and why it makes a lot of decent people mad. And there's no winners in all this, but there's a lot of losers.
Speaking of past guests on the show, Peter Boghossian is starting to show his ass. He has always. Oh, it's so fun to ignore these people.
Right-wing, predatory, accused, alleged predator. Every person has chimed in on this, so you know it's a good time. Okay, here's what happened. I'm going to take you back to early November. The Freedom from Religion Foundation, an organization I respect. They do a lot of good work. We've talked about them repeatedly because of the things that they actively do. I actually am friends with staffers there. Like, I talk to them often.
Yep.
Okay. So they also have a Free Thought Now blog where they basically allow staffers, interns, members, legal fellows, whatever, every now and then, if they want to chime in on something that FFRF is doing, like they'll send out press releases if there's a new lawsuit or something, but maybe there's some church state issue that someone has expertise on and they want to weigh in on, and it doesn't really belong in a press release somewhere.
Like an op-ed.
Yeah, it's kind of like an op-ed, and so they have a section on their website where they post that stuff. I don't know how much traction it gets, but I don't know that matters. It's just, these are the thoughts of people who are associated with people at FFRF.
Under the flag of
FFRF, right. And so, I mean, recent articles on there include topics like Christian nationalism, the relationship between feminism and religion. I mean, none of this would surprise anyone who has seen the work they do. So in early November, one of their former interns, their name is Kat Grant, they posted an article about how many of our society's views on gender, surprise, are steeped in religious traditions.
What?
I know.
First time hearing about this.
Right. One of the things they wrote is, I'm quoting here, missionaries often viewed gender systems outside of the strict sexual binary to be a mark of a less civilized nation. And we may not attribute that to missionaries anymore because the right wing has kind of taken that mantle.
Sure.
But saying this stuff has a basis, and the basis is steeped in religion. And the title of this article was, "What is a Woman?" And at the end of what, because Kat was trying to say, let me answer that for you. And this is the answer they give at the end. I'm not non-binary because I don't identify with femininity. I'm non-binary because no particular gender matches my internal sense of self at all. All of this is to say that there is an answer to the question, what is a woman? A woman is whoever she says she is. Mm-hmm. All right, fine. I pay attention to what people are saying about the community and outside the community and whatnot. Mm-hmm. I do not believe I saw anyone reference this piece, talk about this piece, do anything with it. No one was mad about it.
Sure.
No one was bragging. Like, it was there on FFRF's website.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Didn't make a huge splash.
Right. Didn't make a huge splash, which is not a diss on the piece. Yeah. Like, that's the case for a lot of stuff that is online. Plenty of my own pieces have fallen into that trap as well. But I would also say, it's not weird for FFRF to publish that because the focus is on how religion has fed into the anti-trans bigotry we have seen.
And it's the gender binary is very important.
That's not a new thing that just came up. This is
hot take.
Yeah, it's been going around for a while.
Hot take, Christians love traditional gender roles.
And I also think it's good that they published it because we've talked about this. People like Richard Dawkins have been spreading anti-trans propaganda for a long time now. So the more we could say, look, this is based on religious problems, religious beliefs. And if all of you reading this, FFRF members, who are probably not religious and anti-religious in many ways, if you want an argument to make about why this stuff is bad, look, there's a link with religion, okay? Now, I'm not going to get into all the stuff, why Dawkins has said this, but he's done it for years.
Yeah.
But I thought, okay, I'm glad FFRF posted that. It's good to see an organization of their size saying, hey, we're giving a platform to someone who we worked with, who we respect, and here's an opinion we want to share with you all.
Right.
Okay, fine. So after they published that, and like I said, I don't remember any public anything about it, I guess Jerry Coyne, who is the author of books like Why Evolution is True, he also wrote a book called Faith versus Fact, Why Science and Religion Are Incompatible. I will say, I like both of those books. And so he's written those. He is one of those atheists who, in the preceding several years, has become like Dawkins. I mean, you can imagine they're all on the same text chain together.
Yeah.
He spreads the same anti-trans rhetoric. I read his blog. You know what his blog is? If you ignore, like, here's pictures of my cat, which is fine, but I don't care about it.
Just old man stuff?
No,
like
it's
gardening?
Well, which fine.
Yeah,
you do
God
you,
bless.
I don't care. It's a lot of, hey, you know what my favorite conservative websites say today? And it's not an excerpt. It's like, let me just copy paste the entire thing they wrote because you all need to see this. Here's what this conservative author wrote. Here's what that one wrote.
In a way of like, isn't this crazy? Ha ha ha. Or
no. It's a...
Wait a second. These guys actually have some good ideas.
His ideas are like, you know those people protesting genocide on campus? You know who's the bad guys? The people who are mad when Israeli government is bombing hospitals. Those are the people who are against that are the baddies.
Listen, somehow the U.S. government turned people who didn't want war into a derogatory peacenik. So I really believe that old angry white men can twist anything to their own desires.
He loves those like... I used to be a liberal, but now I'm a conservative because liberals pushed me.
Is smooth like a marble.
That's right. And that's who he is fans with. That's all he promotes on his website. He's been doing this for years, and part of me is like, yikes. But also... But at the same time, I'm like, you know what, though? You are not really doing any... You're not Dawkins in the sense that reporters are not coming to you when they want to talk about religion.
He doesn't have name recognition.
Right. So it's like, all right, I mean, you're crazy, but also I don't think anyone's paying attention
it's
to you.
It's a little sound and fury signifying nothing, right? Like, you can yell as much as you want. I don't have to listen to you.
Right. I will say that the Center for Inquiry holds their annual conference now in Vegas.
Oh.
They used the amazing meeting that James Randi used to run in Vegas, his foundation.
That's where Mikey and I got engaged.
Yes. CFI basically said, let's do a conference in Vegas since Tam isn't around anymore. So they do it in Vegas every year. Well, this past October...
Oh, I want to go.
No, you don't. Because
don't want to go.
CFI is very anti-trans as an organization.
Cool, guys.
They invited Jerry Coyne to speak in October where he gave a similar talk about why, you know who's wrong about everything? Trans people. Dr. Stephen Novella, who is one of the hosts of Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, actually gave a talk at the same event, because he's a mainstay there, where he pushed back against all that bullshit.
Oh, thank fucking Christ.
Yes.
I was hoping he would still be a good one.
But the fact is, Jerry Coyne was like still invited to CFI's event, because of course they like him, just like they platform Dawkins and they platform every guy we are talking about in this mess. Okay, now here's where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Coyne is also a member of Freedom from Religion Foundation's honorary board, which I think they formed like over a decade ago, where they said, we just want some big names that we can put out there to say, look, all these famous people you all know, they promote the work we do.
Yeah.
A lot of organizations have something like this. And it's like, they don't make decisions for us, but they allow us to use their name
we can
to
ride in their
promote what we
coattails
do.
a little bit.
Yes, if we're doing a fundraising email, it might go out in their name, and they're cool with that. Okay, fine. The page for their honorary board says, this is a title we are giving to, quote, distinguished achievers who have made known their dissent from religion. All right, fine. It's a symbolic role. It's what FFRF does. Not weird. Apparently, Jerry Coyne asked FFRF, hey, you know that article you posted about what is a woman? Can I post a rebuttal to that on your website?
What is a woman? Whoever she doesn't say? I don't know. What's the rebuttal there, buddy? If the statement was a woman is who she says it is, it's like...
What's the opposite of that,
A woman
right?
is who I say she is?
And so he
Jerry
said...
Coyne, I guess?
I want to post it in the same place this person posted their article. And also, I'm on your honorary board, so like you should totally tell me yes. And
Okay.
FFRF, someone there was like, yeah, I guess that makes sense as long as you're like talking about science.
On the FFRF's behalf here?
Someone said yes.
Okay.
That's what I can tell you.
You're editorializing on the FFRF's behalf?
That's right. I think that's why they said yes. They're like, well, it's weird because no one asks us, can you post a rebuttal?
Sure. Okay, I see. Yeah.
So why did they say yes to it? I don't know. But you're on our honorary board, so I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess
All
they
right.
probably don't get a lot of rebuttals.
Right. You have a blog. Go post it on there. But he wanted to post it in the same place.
Well, yeah, he didn't want to break up his cat streak.
So, his article.
Oh, boy.
Yes, that's
Really
the right
good?
answer.
Really good
The
and bad?
title is called Biology is Not Bigotry.
I did see that title, and boy, listeners of the show know how much I hate alliteration in titles. It truly makes my teeth grind.
Among other things, he says sex is binary. It is not.
I mean, it's just, that's the thing. That's the fucking thing that kills me. It's like, you fell at the first hurdle, my dude. You can't even...
And you can't get mad at the first hurdle because there are too many hurdles we're about to go down.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to
But he also
stop
said
us.
by even talking about this issue, FFRF was stepping out of its lane.
I'm sorry. Is he telling the FFRF to shut up and dribble?
Yes, about church-state separation and how it affects LGBTQ people.
Then, Jerry, why do I care what the fuck you have to say, dog?
Yes.
Do you hear
evolution
yourself?
is your thing, so yep, stay in your lane.
Stay
All
in
right.
your lane, dude.
He actually said, I'm quoting here, sex and gender have little to do with theism or the First Amendment, which is news to anyone who has followed sex and gender
I'm
controversies.
so sorry. Can you reread that?
Yeah.
That felt like gibberish.
Sex and gender have little to do with theism or the First Amendment, which is what I'm editorializing here. He's like, I thought FFRF cared about religion and free speech. So why are you talking about sex and gender?
Oh, well,
why
buddy,
do you think they have bathroom bills? Why do you think gay marriage was a problem legally for so many years?
Either side of your little military line, if you notice the people to your right and left are conservative state congressmen from North Carolina, you are in the wrong team, buddy.
Right.
Seriously? Is he serious?
Who do you think is attacking sex and gender, and on what basis are they doing it? First, they're doing it on the basis of religion largely.
Well,
and I would argue when you have Christian teachers, professors who are like, I ain't calling that kid by their pronoun, that's a free speech argument against why I'm not respecting trans people or non-binary people or whatever the hell they want. They would just want you to use their pronoun. Jesus.
And also, here's the thing, is he knows better.
Does he?
Absolutely no. I believe he knows better. I believe he has a fundamental understanding that the quote unquote family structure that we have right now is hugely based around Christianity. That's like what everything is all about. Look at our entire like holiday schedule. We like everything is based around Christianity. And if Christianity demands that there be two gender roles, so a boy and a girl can get married and have more boys and girls, then not only is being transgender off the table, but even like differences of gender expression. Christianity demands that women
Which, by the way, that's what
present-
Richard Dawkins has done. Oh, this wrestler doesn't look feminine enough for me. I'm just going to say this person is trans.
That's the other thing. And like, if you, and who knows if this is, you know, bots or whatever, like all around the internet, you see like a picture of Beyonce and someone's like, you can obviously see where her dick is. Like it's just another excuse to impart violence on women for not performing their gender properly. So if he thinks that gender performing
has nothing to do with
Christianity, that is a man
Amendment.
who is either a liar or has forgotten everything he's ever seen in his entire life. And either way, I don't think we need to hear from him.
You're on like hurdle 3 and there are more to go.
Boy,
Then it gets
I
worse.
blacked out during that one.
Yeah. Then he says trans women are more likely to be sexual predators. You want to know what the evidence is for that?
Did Richard Dawkins tell him?
Whispered in his ear there.
Yeah.
I'm going to read you exactly what he wrote.
Jesus.
It's a long paragraph, but let's discuss this. A cross-comparison of statistics from the UK Ministry of Justice and the UK Census shows that while almost 20% of male prisoners and a maximum of 3% of female prisoners have committed sex offenses, at least 41% of trans-identifying prisoners were convicted of these crimes. Transgender, then, appears to be twice as likely as natal males and at least 14 times as likely as natal females to be sex offenders. While these data are imperfect because they're based only on those who are caught or on some who declare their female gender only after conviction, they suggest that transgender women are far more, italics, far more sexually predatory than biological women and somewhat more predatory than biological men.
First of all, there were... Boy. Oh, I haven't gotten this mad in a little bit.
We're not done yet.
I guess...
I will tell you why all that stat stuff you just said is wrong in a second.
I mean, first of all, it's probably a vanishingly small sample size.
You are correct.
Second of all, what the fuck? Who is he getting? I don't believe
You know
fucking
where he
word.
got- you know where he got these
went
numbers
down
from?
To a prison. He went down to a bar where a bunch of prison guards work and asked them for anecdotal data. That's what he did.
He got the statistics from a right-wing hate group that is based in the UK that is anti-trans.
Oh, no shit.
Where did the funniest thing
you
about
don't
it?
Say. Hold on.
Funniest thing, I know, surprise. The funniest thing about this, it's not funny, but the funniest thing about this is that the anti-trans group says we're getting our numbers from like, here's this where we're getting our stats from, and they have a link to like a BBC article. That BBC article says, here's why all these numbers are wrong.
Oh, good.
But basically what he's saying is we looked at a very small sample size, and in that sample size, these people who identify as trans were convicted of sex crimes.
I know this is a different country, but I'm just going to quickly read something. Perpetrators of sexual assault. You want to take a swing at the percentage of men versus women?
I'm going to guess a lot of men.
It's 99%.
Yeah, there you go.
99% of sexual assault perpetrators are male.
Yes.
So if Jerry is actually concerned about anybody being assaulted, which, Hemmett, he doesn't. Men don't care when women get hurt unless it proves their point. So listen, if a transgender woman murdered a cis woman, they would jump all over that. Holy shit, it would bring the house down.
And no one's defending that.
But for some reason, when people like, I don't know, fucking Dave Silverman, it comes out that maybe they're not like super cool to women in general, that's still like, who are you worried about women or not worried about women?
Let me tell you about
is my
this
question.
stat.
Because I don't think you're worried about women. I think you're worried about being right.
Yeah, you're correct. So I gave you percentages from his thing. If you look at the raw numbers, the slice of the prison population that they were looking at has a very small number of trans people.
It's like the fucking Bristol prison, like it's 15 people.
So actually you could make an argument that, well, if you want to extrapolate from prison data, it sounds like trans women as a whole are more law-abiding than cis people because they are underrepresented in the prison population that he is getting his statistics from. It's also possible that one of the reasons some of these trans women were arrested was because of consensual sex work.
Oh,
maybe.
Wait, hold on a second. Are you saying that sometimes when people are in jail, it might be for like, I don't know, trumped up charges? Like maybe they were caught with like a little weed on them and they're like, oh, it looks like you have money in your pocket. You probably got it from sex work.
And this is another point to make, which is that racists use the same logic when they claim, well, there's a lot of black people in prison, so let me tell you what I can. Let me extrapolate
from there.
But
if you try, when I say things like
as opposed to addressing systemic problems, which is why there is a disproportionate number of a certain population in prison in the first place, which is what's happening here.
When people get statistics that agree with them, they're going to cling on to it with both hands because these people do not care about women, about violence against women. They only use it to further their own means.
Sorry, this is a scientist you are talking about.
I am so embarrassed for these men. It must be... I cannot imagine having such a powerful and meaningful career as Jerry Coyne and Dawkins have, and only to end it in the twilight of their lives when all they had to do was moonwalk off into the distance and once in a while like send a picture of them waving near a zebra or whatever. All you had to do was shut the fuck up and let younger people who understand what's going on in the world and maybe have some lumps left in their brain. Maybe it's their turn. I know
they
20
J.K.
years
Rowling
ago.
syndrome.
I know 20 years ago these people were talking about the old people in Congress who don't believe in evolution. We have to get them out of here and yada, yada, yada. Now this is you. You have become the very people you hate. What is it? If you don't die a hero, you live long enough to become a villain? Congrats. You've been villainized, and you did it to yourself.
Oh, we're not done yet.
This is such an unforced error. I keep hitting
and
the
then
table.
in the same paragraph, later in his little essay here, where he says, by the way, I'm not transphobic. And then
I'm not a misandrist.
And then he says, I'm quoting here, he basically says, moral and legal rights do not extend, I want to paraphrase because the way he wrote it is weird. He's basically saying, okay, I want trans people to have rights. I'm not transphobic, but your rights end where my rights begin.
And my right is to only see people that I can identify their gender right away, and it makes me feel good and comfortable.
You got to take off your pants when I meet you. That's how it works. Here's what he says then as a result of that. Trans rights stops where other people's rights begin. Therefore, he concludes, transgender women, for example, should not compete athletically against biological women, should not serve as rape counselors and workers in battered women's shelters, or, if convicted of a crime, should not be placed in a women's prison. All three. This is where now you're infringing on other people's rights, you see, so you can't do that.
Doesn't he have grandkids? Doesn't he want to start woodworking? Why is he just sitting in his little cave writing about stuff he doesn't understand?
Is read conservative writers, and they have Fox News'd this guy.
This is when people talk about the epidemic of loneliness. I swear to fucking God, it could be a picture of Jerry Coyne on there. A person does not delve this far into nonsense.
He just says, no trans women doing sports, which that's been debunked many times over. They don't have this surprise advantage.
I feel like I can't say this enough. Maybe, if sports are the big stumbling block for gender equality and for trans rights, maybe sports are too fucking important, and maybe humanity should be slightly more so.
Just saying, on a very base level, the people running these athletic organizations have a vested interest in maintaining competitive advantage. And if they thought someone was getting a leg up, they have taken whatever precautions they think while consulting with necessary parties to try to make sure competition is fair. Okay, but even putting aside that one for a second, trans people should just not serve as rape counselors and workers in battered women's shelters. So it doesn't matter what their qualifications are. It doesn't matter if they're absolutely professional about everything they do. If you're trans, I don't want you to have this job because, I don't know, maybe the women who have been abused are as bigoted as I am, apparently.
And again, Jerry, do you actually give a shit about battered women's shelters? Do you actually...
I have to think that's not the PC name for that either.
It shouldn't be, but as far as I know, there's not a lot of other...
Okay.
But And I could be wrong, but in my research anyway. But I just don't understand. I don't understand why they think it's appropriate to grandstand in the name of women's rights when what the fuck have they done to help us when it didn't help them?
Oh, no. You're right. They did not. They were not there
Jerry
earlier.
Coyne did not speak out against David Silverman putting his hands on people. How many people in Jerry Coyne's little circle have been accused of things?
Many.
And how many times has he come on his white Charger to the rescue to say, hey, I care about women and I care about women being safe?
You know what I haven't seen him post about among the cat pictures? Like his favorite WNBA team or whatever. Like
a woman he knows and cares about.
Who
isn't related to him.
There you go. He also...
Hey guys, do you all have a woman that you know and care about whom you're not related to? Just wondering. Just think about it. Just think about it. Do you keep women in your lives or do you use them when they're handy and you need them? I'm pretty mad today.
He also said the thing about you can't put trans women in women's prisons. There are so many articles and research papers published about the perils of putting trans women in male prisons, not just their mental health impact has on them, but the physical abuse they suffer there. Like all of these talking points fuel the anti-trans bathroom bills that Republicans have been promoting to stop trans people from using the proper bathroom in public.
Because it's more fun to go after a boogeyman like trans people than look down the barrel of the problem with the violence against women in this country. It's a scary, hard topic and one people keep flinching away from because it's too big and too scary and demands too many men be held accountable. It's much easier to just shift blame over. Oh, it's not us. Oh, it's not us. It's that dude with a wig. Ha ha! We're free again.
I want to be clear that one thing, the reason we're talking about all this is not just because he's like, I'm a biologist and let me talk about the biology of sex or anything.
I don't give a shit.
But also, he actually says things in here that are actively harmful and wrong, and that's what we're discussing. This isn't if you look at it from a chromosomal point of view, it's like, well, that was stupid, but whatever. No one's arguing their chromosomes change when they become trans. We're talking about other stuff, and he's actively harmful and wrong about all of that stuff. And so I expect this from Jerry Coyne, because this is what I've come to expect from him. I expect this from Richard Dawkins at this point.
Freedom from Religion Foundation.
I do expect better from FFRF. Why the hell did you publish this when this was in there?
You.
Right?
Shame on you.
Okay. So that was the part that got to me where it's like, I don't know why you published this. Is it because he's on your honorary board? That's weird. But also, why is he on your honorary board? That maybe you should take a look at that.
Or
That's weird.
Was somebody supposed to read it over before it published and they didn't?
Right. And it was over the holidays. Is that why? Is that why you didn't? Did you guys have a Christmas party to get to?
It's okay.
Were you going to church that night? I don't know how much I even care about the holiday excuse because, okay. Remember, when the American Humanist Association took a stand on this in 2021, because Richard Dawkins was being super anti-trans, they said, what can we do about this from our perspective? Because this guy has been associated with us. We gave him an award years ago. So they said, well, let's take back our award. Because, whatever, no one cares. But symbolically, this is what we can do. We take back our Humanist of the Year award that we gave you in 1996 because we got nothing else to hold over you. And symbolic.
It's something.
But they made it such a big, how dare you come after me? I'm Richard Dawkins.
Yeah.
I'm right about everything. So, of course, I'm right about trans women not being women. And to their credit, the AHA stuck by that. They faced a lot of backlash for it. I think they deserve credit for that. So what the hell is FFRF doing? Yeah. So here's what I can tell you. I don't know the deliberations behind the scenes. I don't know exactly what happened. But after they posted the Jerry Coyne article and people read it, and people are like, the hell is this? Very quickly, that article came down.
Okay.
Actually, I should tell you, some of the people who have been associated with FFRF, because they've worked with them, spoken at their conferences, myself included in this mix, are like, what the hell is this on their website?
Sure.
Evan Clark, who is the executive director of Atheists United, a group in California, said, if you still support FFRF, I would encourage you to pull your donations and talk to their leadership about the importance of trans rights in the battle against white Christian nationalism. David Williamson, who has spoken at their convention, he's the co-founder of the Central Florida Free Thought Community, he said, I wish FFRF would leave the unscientific anti-trans bigotry to the Center for Inquiry. Matt Dillahunty, who's appeared at a number of their events, said he would make a video about this, quote, embarrassing, garbage, transphobic crap.
Yeah.
Okay, so people started speaking out about this, people with their own platforms of sorts. And after that happened over the span of a few hours, they removed that article from their website and they posted a new one where it's titled Freedom from Religion Foundation Supports LGBTQIA plus rights.
Well, now they do.
Now they do. And they basically said, I'm paraphrasing, it's a long letter. They noted the direct harm Christian nationalists inflict upon, I'm going to say LGBTQ people, how their own membership includes plenty of LGBTQ people, the various ways they've proudly supported LGBTQ rights and fought bigoted legislation. Now, what did they say about the Coyne piece? They said, publishing this post was an error of judgment. We have decided to remove it as it does not reflect our values or principles. We regret any distress caused by this post and are committed to ensuring it doesn't happen again. Moving forward, we are reviewing our content guidelines and internal processes to ensure our public messaging consistently reflects our values. We're committed to learning from this experience. ... Our mission to keep religion out of government is inextricably linked to preserving and advancing these fundamental rights. One thing I forgot to mention is when they posted that Coyne piece, one hint that maybe they knew this was a problem to begin with is that there was a disclaimer on that Coyne post that had never appeared before that said this. FFRF honorary board member Jerry A. Coyne requested that this column be written as a guest blog. The views in this column are of the author and do not necessarily reflect those of the FFRF.
Okay.
Which is either you knew this was weird or you started to put a disclaimer on pieces, starting with this one. I don't know what the answer is.
That is interesting.
But that was another reason they felt the
I wonder
need
if
to
that
respond.
was somebody trying to put a Band-Aid on it of
It was there before. It was before the backlash.
No, but I'm saying of I know this is probably not great to go out. I'm gonna at least cover our ass a little bit. That's my guess.
I will tell you, I have since gotten word that actually the disclaimer was in the works for a while. It coincidentally appeared for the first time on that piece.
I was going to say, that's not an outrageous disclaimer. That's in front of every DVD commentary menu.
Exactly.
It's not a big deal.
I'm going to come back to... No, I'll jump to it now.
Oh, okay.
There were people who said, you know what? I don't like that response from FFRF. That was actually signed off on by Annie Laurie Gaylor and Dan Barker, who are the co-presidents. And people said, I don't like that. That's not an apology. One, you didn't even say apology or sorry or anything like that. But two, you didn't actually say what he got wrong or why you decided to publish this. You didn't go into depth about, you said it was an error of judgment. Okay, what was the error? What was it?
What did he say that was wrong?
Yeah. Why don't you tell us?
And what's the right thing?
Because if you don't say that, and this is a fair point, I think, if you don't say what exactly he wrote that you think does not reflect your values or principles, all he gets to say is, well, the woke mob went after FFRF and they caved and they took down my piece, even though everything about it was correct.
It was super good and fun.
So by not addressing head on, here's what you said that was actually offensive. We didn't catch this at first. We should have. By not saying that, you're giving him ammo to use to just pretend like he's the victim of cancel culture or whatever he wants to make up, the woke mob or something like that. So, okay, fair point to everybody. But they posted that. They had taken down the piece, and they did send that quote-unquote apology to the same email list that got the blog posts earlier.
Oh, God,
right?
yeah.
So,
Into people's inboxes. That's no good.
So then, at the time, I looked at Jerry Coyne's website. I'm like, I wonder if he knows what has happened.
Oh, yeah.
And it said, my article seems to have disappeared, which is just funny. It's like, they must have had a glitch the day after Christmas or something.
He's stateside, right? Where does he live?
He's in Chicago.
Is he? That's right. He's UIC.
But interestingly enough, not UIC, UFC.
UFC.
When he talked about this on his website, he actually gave away stuff I don't think he was supposed to give away. He said on his website, he was telling people, hey, I wrote this article. You can go see it on FFRF's website. He said, after a bit of back and forth with the bosses of the FFRF, they accepted this version, which makes me think, what the hell was draft 1.0? And you're saying the bosses signed off on this. That's very interesting.
So that means they read it, asked for changes, then we're like, 2 thumbs up, my dude.
That is exactly the right takeaway.
Content.
That doesn't help. And
Not a
actually,
good look.
he later said FFRF co-president Annie Laurie Gaylor had given me permission to write it and approved the final published version.
Annie.
Not a great look. Not
Annie,
great.
what you doing?
Uh-huh.
Annie, are you wrapped up in this too?
All right. So, he actually said later on exactly what critics
He
had
throws
said.
a woman immediately under the bus.
He said, why did they take it down? He said, it is only fear that would make an organization take down a rational discussion of such a contentious statement. I don't know what the FFRF is afraid of, but I am just a biologist defending my turf. And I am not by any means bent on hurting LGBTAIA plus people. First of all, defending my turf is a hilarious accidental phrase to use.
Oh, I get it.
Second,
I didn't get it.
buddy,
but no, I do.
AIA, that's not it.
AIA.
I think he tried to type Q and missed the keyboard and didn't recognize what happened.
These
but
things do
he
happen.
doesn't get to be the arbiter of whether his article hurts LGBTQ people.
Well, and
right?
also this respond of, it's only fear, as if fear is like an inherently negative thing when maybe the fear is, hey, this could harm people.
This is very much
could
like
lead to
Republican policymakers who say, I'm not a racist. Like, do you see the white hood on my head? No. Therefore, my policies cannot possibly be racist.
Right.
And then he said, this is another quote. This is after he found out what happened. When they start censoring my words because, though biologically justifiable, they are ideologically unpalatable, that is just too much. And then he dabbed the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief and challenged everyone to a duel.
do you remember a movie came out, I think 2024, the Secret Society of Magical Negroes, it's called.
Oh, I heard of it.
David Allen Greer was in it. But it kind of ends in this moment of a black guy confronting a white guy in front of a lot of people and being like, hey, what you just said was racist. And just the guy over and over keeps saying, well, I'm not racist. So whatever I said couldn't be racist. So whatever you heard wasn't what you heard because I'm not and so he's just like gaslighting this guy
unless I actively decide I am a racist, nothing I do is racist.
And also, let's not forget, there is nothing worse than being accused of being a racist when you're not one. Not even being attacked by a white mob is worse than being accused of racism. Can you imagine?
It's the worst possible thing that could happen.
How will I show my face in the country club?
I'm going to forward a little bit with this story and say that by the next day, Jerry Coyne, I was like, I did wonder, why is this guy on your honorary board? Like, I know it's the holidays, but like, why is he on there? What does he contribute at this point? Maybe 10, 15 years ago, I understand why you might want his name.
They don't pull people off as they like get old.
They should,
like
is my
racehorses.
point. They should.
It's like Menudo. They have to be swapping out the members. I think just once you get there, you're there, Hammett.
I think you're right, but it's like, all right, well, if this guy is on your honorary board, you should maybe, it's been long enough, go revamp it.
I'm just laying the groundwork for when I become a board member somewhere and do absolutely nothing with it, so I can go back to this and be like, I've always said board members don't have to do anything.
I've always said it's a lifetime appointment. By the next day, he's like, well, I am...
Two things I'm not a racist and a liar.
Jerry Coyne is like, well, I am resigning from FFRF's honorary board.
Jerry,
and then, because all these dudes are on the same like text email chain, Richard Dawkins is like, I am Spartacus as well. I'm resigning from the board of the honorary board of FFRF. And it's like, oh, right, you had to inject yourself into this as well. And then Steven Pinker is like, I too am from Harvard and have hair, and I am also resigning from the board.
Which one's Steven Pinker?
The one with the hair.
I mean,
he's also a guy who contributed data that suggested maybe Epstein wasn't the worst.
Sure,
Go look it up.
I've been looking for that.
Google Steven Pinker and Epstein.
I don't know why.
It's not great.
I'm like on season 6 of Frasier, so everything in my head is just sort of this like comedy of manners, and I'm just imagining these old men like, oh, you should this, I'll do this, and then
I think he contributed something to Epstein's defense fund or something, his defense lawyer's argument, and then after he found out what it was for, he's like, oh no, anyway.
I'm just imagining them like a farce, just door slamming, mistaken identities right and left. Somebody comes in with a sheet over their head for some reason and confesses love to somebody else. That's what I imagine these old men just bumbling around their lives.
This is what Pinker wrote in his resignation.
Niles, we really must have it publicly.
They all made public resignation letters because they got to make a thing of this now, right? Coyne was like, this is, in fact, the third time that I and others have tried to warn the FFRF about the dangers of expanding its mission into political territory. But it is now clear this is exactly what you intend to do. And then he said, the gender ideology which caused you to take down my article is itself quasi-religious. If you respect trans people at this point, well, you're religious, so
I love these dum-dums. They're so codependent. This is like my mom and her sisters are so codependent. If one of them buys something from like Costco, they have to buy 3 of them because they can't bear missing out on something.
These guys all are like, you guys, I'm going to do this thing. Can you all back me up on this?
This is 100% of the thing.
And
what
then
happened.
Pinker.
Do you guys all want to wear turtlenecks next week?
Before they wear the turtlenecks, Pinker chimed in with this action, the foundation is no longer a free defender of freedom from religion, but the imposer of a new religion.
You can't just say something is a religion. That's just not how it works.
They just did. And then Pinker adds, FFRF has shown contempt for the reasoned advice of its own board members. Reasoned advice is Coyne's lies.
Go away.
And then came Dawkins.
Dawkins, nobody wants to hear from you now.
They said, here's Dawkins. Publishing the silly and unscientific What is a Woman article by Cat Grant was a minor error of judgment. But alas, the sequel was an act of unseemly panic when you caved into hysterical squeals from predictable quarters and retrospectively censored that excellent rebuttal.
So I used to work at a marketing agency, and everybody it was like a content farm, right? And so everybody there were writers. And so every time there would be some sort of conflict, we would just get into this like flowery email debate of just like, what you need to understand is the constructs of like, we were all so obsessed with like expressing ourselves perfectly that all of a sudden we sounded like fucking Hamilton and Burr back and forth. And that's what this feels like to me.
There's like 2 monosyllabic words in that mix because you got to sound super smart.
No, 100%. And my friend Jeremy pointed it out, and I thought it was such a brilliant thing. It's like, we don't get anything done because we're also up our own ass with rhetoric.
Right.
That, like, we don't care what we're arguing about.
All 3 of these guys, by the way, I checked, were on the honorary board of FFRF in 2013. Like, so they haven't updated this list in a while. Yeah. They could. And I also checked that FFRF's membership has grown from about 20,000 a decade ago to about 40,000 today. Oh. They have taken on far more church-state battles in that time. Their staff has grown immensely, to which I would just say, okay, if you thought the advisory board was needed then to give you legitimacy and get you members, well, I feel like you've been just fine. You don't need them. You're fine.
Also, if you're on the advisory board, why do you have to resort to a guest blog? Like, why don't you get your hands in there a little bit earlier if you saw they were going down the wrong path, Mr. Coyne?
That is
Professor Coyne, Dr. Coyne.
Fair point. My favorite thing that Jerry Coyne did is in his argument about like, look, all my buddies are resigning too. Aren't you all impressed by how courageous we are? Which was a post he made. He literally atted J.K. Rowling saying, look what I did. Look, don't you want to boost this? Like, he tweeted at her with a link to his blog post like a 14-year-old fangirl.
Oh my God. Notice me, senpai. Notice me, senpai. J.K. Rowling.
Yeah. It's great.
Oh, boy, that's maybe one of the most embarrassing things I've heard in quite a long time. I'm trying to think of any...
They did get the Fox News conservative crowd to post articles about this over the past couple days.
Is he posting on Twitter or not Blue Sky?
No, Twitter's where all the right-wing crazy people still are. Not that I'm not,
like
I should say.
Now? Do you know?
I went to go check. Most of the people I used to follow no longer post there, except for like Sports Center. So like, I get that.
Yeah.
But most of the people I follow are no longer posting. So it's useless.
Yeah.
And if you go to what are people posting, it is scary Elon shit. Because that's what's boosted and amplified for everybody. Sure. So it is a cesspool. My favorite is there is a right-wing atheist group that's like, we're responding to FFRF's post saying, hey, here's what we did. And our response saying, woke cucks or whatever it was, they're like, we got more likes than they did. So I think that proves we're a better activist organization because we ratioed them. That is an actual thing they said.
I think
we ratioed them.
You legally need to have somebody under the age of 50 running your social media account. Otherwise,
that kid is under 50.
Just embarrassing.
No. When he's like in his 20s and is a conservative activist, it doesn't help because you make the same mistakes as the 50-plus-year-old new atheist / I was cool 20 years ago.
I just don't understand. Golly. So if I'm Richard Dawkins, I'm going to write a fluffy-ass book, and then I'm going to tour the world with it and just go to different cities and spend a week in a couple different places. And do you know who
invited to interview him on stage for all of these things to promote his new book?
Donald Trump.
Conservative activists. By the way, I mentioned this last week, I think. One of my friends, Drew McCoy, he's on YouTube as Genetically Modified Skeptic, has a pretty big presence on YouTube. He was asked, hey, do you want to interview Richard Dawkins? I don't know whether this was on YouTube or in person at one of the live events, but Dawkins people are like, you have a big following. Do you want to interview him? Because we're trying to get publicity for Dawkins' new book. And Drew thought about it. He's like, that would be big for me. But I can't. I know what Dawkins says, and this is not a debate. It's not that I would not be allowed to ask him about the horrible things he said, but that clearly is not the purpose of this conversation.
Right.
And if you're just using me to promote you and your stuff, I don't feel comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
And he spoke with me about why that he made that decision. And we had an hour-long plus conversation about this. He posted a video on his channel. It's Genetically Modified Skeptic, basically saying, I said no to Dawkins. Here's why I did it. It includes a lot of conversation that we had. And I thought he did a good job with the video in explaining. It's not just Dawkins is just a bad dude now. He brings the proof.
Yes.
He brings the receipts.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good video. I encourage you, check it out if you haven't had a chance to see it yet.
Wow. That's
good times.
Really, really too bad.
I do have other stories to talk about.
Okay. How long did we sit on that one?
That was 7 hours.
Interesting.
So I do want to talk about the next Congress, which opens on January 3rd. Pew Research Center just put out, like literally as I walked in your door, all the new information. I haven't had a chance to parse through everything yet, so I'm going to save this conversation till next week till I have a better sense of what's going on there. But I did want to talk about, there is a story that was published by ProPublica, which does excellent work on this, about how a religious school can receive taxpayer money and screw over their kids. And I think that is worth talking about.
Oh, the trifecta.
The trifecta. So here's what you need to know to make sense of this story. Republicans have basically used their power whenever they have power in a state government, maybe at the federal level, to launch a sustained attack on public schools. So instead of funding them in many states, in Arizona specifically, lawmakers in Arizona gave parents vouchers worth on average about $7,000. And they say, this is what it would cost to educate your kids at a public school. It's actually a little more, I think. We're going to give it to you. You can use this to send your kids to a charter school or a private school. That's how vouchers work. And the money could also cover the cost of homeschooling, if that's what you want to do.
Okay.
Now, they will call it school choice or parental choice, but the reality is you're taking money away from public schools to send kids to places where standards might be optional, where the actual education is not always a priority, and accountability may be hard to come by. And we talked about this. The Washington Post last summer did a whole story on these voucher schemes, and they said in Arizona, more than 75,000 students are now benefiting from the, quote, Empowerment Scholarship Program, their voucher program. In 2022, 2023, 3/4 of that money, about $229 million, went to 184 vendors. Most of that was for tuition, 87% to religious schools. So it's a lot of taxpayer dollars used as vouchers to go to religious schools, which are almost all Christian schools, right? And this is the scary thing. They are using public money to fund private religious education.
I'm so sorry. I just pulled up Google because I like to see what the educational rate.
What's the educational ranking for...
You won't believe
for Arizona?
You won't believe it when I tell you.
What?
51st.
51st. I mean, you were hoping they would say 50 to make a point, and you realized it was even worse.
50. That noise.
Is that like District of Columbia beat them somehow? That is fantastic.
I was going to say, I was going to guess Puerto Rico, but I assume DC is probably it.
And so,
holy shit, that took the breath out of me. That was so funny.
And here's how, and Arizona Republicans, mind you, they have a Democratic governor now, but the legislature is still Republican majority. And a budget Republicans passed over a year ago set aside $624 million for these same vouchers to cover a little over 68,000 students. Well, guess what? Today, the vouchers are being used by over 83,000 students. Basically, these vouchers are blowing a giant hole in the entire state budget for the worst possible reason.
So more people took advantage of that than they expected? Is that what why would they think they wouldn't?
You're giving me money to go wherever I want. I'll take $7,000 back.
Surprised?
I don't know. But some of them, the problem is that a lot of the families taking this money are people who could easily afford private schools on their own.
Already are in private schools.
So if you're already sending your kid to a private school, why would you not take the voucher money and then use it to reimburse yourself, right?
So, sorry, I just want to be clear. Government subsidies for like childcare and things like that, boo.
Right.
Government subsidies for families that can afford to send their kids to private school to get more money to do it. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Yes, you have it right.
No
you understand Republicans now. So the problem isn't just that vouchers exist. It's that the lack of oversight allows certain schools to take taxpayer dollars without answering to anybody. And this is the basis of the ProPublica story by Eli Hager that just came out this week. He writes about a charter school called Arches Academy. And charter schools are public schools, but they're run kind of independently. And what he wrote is what we know about the school, because they do have to report some stuff. It had a record of dismal academic performance, with just 13% of its students proficient in English and 0% proficient in math in 2023.
So statistically speaking,
none? No one's meeting whatever the standard is.
And the Republicans' solution to this is change the standard.
Either change the standard or we need more money to give to you.
Or get rid of the standard.
Right. And those numbers, along with horrible financial mismanagement at the school, led the Arizona State Board for Charter Schools to say, you guys are really bad and we're going to shut you down.
Wow.
Because they do have some, like that's how bad you are. You make
if a charter school's bailing on you, not great.
And so they have the power to do that. Now, the founder and principal of that school, her name is Michelle Edwards. She's like, well, sure, I don't have qualifications, and sure, I just screwed this up. But you know what I'm good at? This.
Nothing else.
Nothing else. So within a month of being shut down, she rebranded Arches, the charter school, Arches Academy, as Title of Liberty Academy. And she said, it's a Mormon school. And it's a Mormon-based school. We run our school off the values of the LDS Church, but it's not. There's no formal ties to the LDS Church. She's just saying it's a Mormon school now.
Explain my face.
It looks very. I don't believe you, lady.
It's pinched in the middle.
Yes, and if I look at the,
can you see faces?
No. If I look at the logo, it says a private faith-based school focused on the values of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Did somebody post about this in the Facebook group? Because that name sounds familiar. Say it again, the title.
It's Title of Liberty Academy.
What does that even
I don't know.
Title of Liberty.
I don't know, but here's what's scary.
That doesn't even scan.
Because it's a private school now, and a private religious school, there's no oversight. And this is what Hager wrote in the piece. In other words, it was closed down, Arches. It was closed down by a public governing body, but found a way to keep existing and being funded by the public anyway, just without the standards and accountability that would normally come with taxpayer money. Arizona does no vetting of new voucher schools, not even if the school or online school provider has already failed or was founded yesterday or is operating out of a strip mall, like this one is.
Why is Arizona sort of a hotbed of conservatism in that little chunk of the country?
They had
Because I always assumed that in like
was
New
their
Mexico
senator.
were sort of a piece.
You thought they would be better, but also this is the Kirsten Sinema type of people and John McCain people. Like, we like our Republicans. They don't seem that crazy. We said no to Carrie Lake, but also at the state level, we elect crazy people. And again, Republicans have a thin majority in the Senate and the House in Arizona, but they do have the majority, and they have had it for a while.
Is it also like the Florida effect of a lot of conservative people move down there? I wonder. I don't know. My parents love visiting Arizona, and that they're like the prototypical.
So here's
people.
what happened.
Golf.
Title of Liberty Academy opened up this past school year. It opened up last fall. There you go. It opened up last fall.
Yeah.
Within months, the dysfunction at this place was so bad, the place was forced to shut down. Not by the state.
How do they get these up and running so fast? Like,
it's a strip mall. They took down the logo at the top of like the
oh my God.
title of the store,
yes, now that
and they
I'm
just put up the new branding.
Like
Spirit Halloween is what they did.
God damn it, you beat me.
Yes. So it wasn't shut down by the state because the state cannot shut it down. It was shut down by this Edwards woman who's like, oh, I'm really bad at this. And
she shut it down herself?
She shut it down herself because here's the problem.
She was just waiting for somebody to come save her. She's like, I guess nobody's coming.
She spoke to ProPublica about this, which I was surprised by.
Yeah.
But she's told the reporter, we didn't yet have enough students enrolled to be able to afford teachers, but we had to have teachers in order to be able to get students. So then she hired her own family members for teaching and to handle the school's finances. Then she couldn't get the voucher money as quickly as she wanted. And then the landlord was like, you owe me money. And then the landlord's like, I'm kicking you out of here. And she's like, I have no money to pay you, no voucher, me.
It's Fire Island the school, or Firefest the school.
Yeah.
Damn it, I blew
And
it.
according to one of the property managers, she just left the space for us to deal with this shit, which he said amounted to 6 large dumpsters worth. Like the desks she threw in there, she just left them and took off.
Oh my God.
What did the parents get for the trouble of enrolling their kids in this fake religious school? The kids lost at least like a semester of education. It was a K through 8 school. They lost a semester worth of education.
There's no important things you learn in K through 8.
Nothing. And now they have to transfer somewhere else mid-year, which sucks for the kids. Meanwhile, taxpayers lost whatever money was wasted on this little experiment located in a strip mall. And if the parents who sent their kids there gave a damn about their kids, which they don't, which is why they sent them there, send your kids to a school with a solid, proven reputation, not one that has a mention of religion in its Facebook advertisement. Jesus Christ. But this is what they did because, again, in Arizona, Republicans have made it so that if you want taxpayer money, and you just said, I'm just going to here's my garage.
Yeah.
I'm going to put a little Spirit Halloween Mormon banner above it and say, this is a school
Mormon
now.
Is extremely funny.
And if I can get enough kids to enroll, I can ask the government for voucher money and Republicans will give it to me. Sure, we're screwing over the public schools, but they
gives
don't
a shit
care.
About those
Yeah.
poor kids? I don't care.
Yeah. Good times.
Wow. That was, boy, this
It's
is
bad.
insane.
It gets worse in your favorite
I just remembered
state.
I was being recorded and I'm supposed to be saying words, but I'm just trying to process how bad that is.
You want another one?
Hey,
it's from your
guys.
favorite state.
Oak.
That's all you get. So in Oklahoma, this is a Ryan Walters story because of course it is. But it's a different one. Doesn't have to do with
Did he come out of hiding? He has like a beard and he's wearing a flannel.
Ooh,
and
wouldn't
he
be
was practicing
surprised.
guitar over winter break. Why am I making myself laugh so hard today?
You like this guy way too much.
No, yeah.
Here's what happened over winter break here. Ryan Walters runs Oklahoma's Department of Education. He's the superintendent of public instruction. They announced they were going to do this a while ago, but it just happened. They released the new standards for public school social studies classes. Like these are we have a committee together. We're going to put together, this is what kids need to learn in social studies class between kindergarten and high school.
And do they enforce that through standardized testing or it's just expected?
It's more like we're going to give you the broad strokes of what kids need to learn.
Okay.
But public school districts can decide how it is you're going to teach it, what textbooks to, whatever. In his press release, this is what Ryan Walters said. The new standards are among the strongest in the country, pro-America, pro-American exceptionalism, and strengthen civics and constitutional studies across every grade. They include Superintendent Walter's Bible curriculum recommendations and mention the Bible and its historical impact over 40 times.
40 times?
40 times. So I went through the standards. Are you ready for some of this?
No.
Okay. Grade 1, there is a section about what does it mean to be a citizen? Okay? This is grade 1, section 1.1 of the standards. This is like page 1 of the standard, right? There's a section called you got to explain the patriotic traditions that unite citizens.
That's what it's called.
That's what it's
explain.
Called. You got to, I added. Everything else, there you go. But part A, explain the purpose and meaning of the Pledge of Allegiance and the significance of the phrase under God. And I am guessing they don't want you to tell them, well,
about
it's an anti-immigrant
Red Scare thing
that they added under God because of the Red Scare.
Yeah.
And actually it wasn't. They don't want you to know the truth about the Pledge of Allegiance.
No.
They just want you to think it's great. So that doesn't say that's in there. But there you go. First graders also have to explain the meaning of the United States official motto, "In God We Trust," including the importance of religion to American people.
I'm so sorry. I don't think most mottos require an explanation. That's their point, is that they stand on their own.
You would think.
To describe something greater than them.
Yeah. What's the French one that's very good? Just straightforward.
Vive la France?
No. Like, we're equal, we're liberty. It's in French. I don't know.
I don't speak French.
Anyway.
As you can tell by my trying to say Vive la France
That's
with
right.
a France accent.
That was horrible.
I know.
Second
it's
graders.
embarrassing.
Second graders have to be taught. They have to identify stories from Christianity that influence the American colonists, founders, and culture, including the teachings of Jesus of Nazareth. For example, the Golden Rule and the Sermon on the Mount.
In second grade, our student teacher read us Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and I remember he said ass, because it says ass in that book, and you could tell the second grade teacher got real mad at him. That's what I remember from second grade. I'm
just... The Golden Rule is not a Jesus of Nazareth original.
And actually, now that you say that, the Golden Rule was on the wall of my second grade classroom.
Oh, there you go. Mm-hmm. Didn't make you a good person. What the hell?
Oh, yeah, it is a Bible thing, isn't it?
It is both one thing in there, loosely, but it's not original, just like nothing is.
Where's it from? Where does it originally come from?
It's been around. Name the ancient religion, you will find it.
More than 6,000 years old? Because
excuse me, that would
not real.
Go back to the age of the earth. We're not. But basically, promoting Christian nationalism and how the founders were a specific religion, that is pseudo-historian David Barton all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that lie makes its way into 8th grade classes, too, because students are told they have to evaluate the role of Judeo-Christian ideals in supporting colonial demands for independence, as exemplified by the Bible being a frequently cited authority by America's founders.
I mean, to be fair, I do think it would be an absolutely fascinating American history class to do it from a, Christian basis of okay, slavery was happening.
Interesting
Let's
you
see
mentioned
what Christians said about slavery.
Because the
both
only
for and
time,
against, because I think it would be a good lesson in the fact that religion doesn't make you moral.
The only time Christianity and slavery are connected in the standards is through
abolitionists.
Yes, Christian humanitarians who called for its abolition, and that is it. Not about how the Bible was often used to justify enslavement.
Well, and the South was always famously secular, so that tracks that anybody who believed in God thinks slavery is bad, right? Right?
In U.S. government class, they have to describe how the Constitution of the United States was influenced by religion, morality, and the Bible.
Honestly, this is just kind of redundant is the main problem, because it's all the same thing. It's all life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and
there's a class on world history, and they basically want you to use the Bible as a historical text because students are told to describe the central features of Christianity in ancient Rome, including the beliefs and teachings of Jesus of Nazareth as the Messiah, use of the Old and New Testaments, the influence of St. Paul, and the meanings and effects of Jesus of Nazareth's words as recorded by Matthew. Because apparently that is just factual human history right there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just looking to...
Oh, here's the best one.
Oh, sorry. I was just trying to make sure that the ancient Roman Empire lasted through the time of Jesus because I frankly was not sure.
There was actually an elective class in Oklahoma called History of 20th Century Totalitarianism. Interesting.
I bet that's kind of interesting.
Right? And in that, one of the now new standards is describe the Christian idea of the equality of souls, the Christian ideal of charity, and the renunciation of worldly wealth, which is a hilarious thing to describe a party like the evangelical Christians that support Donald Trump, the Christians that fight against equality, and the way Christians give to churches, but they don't give to charities that don't benefit themselves as much. Not like the rest of us.
Yeah, these people suck.
Now, apparently, a local Fox News, not the conservative, but the local affiliate, they spoke to two teachers who were involved in the early drafts of these standards. And one of the educators, who was like, keep me anonymous so I can talk to you about this, he said there were some last-minute edits. Clearly, from what he worked on to what was published.
White out when they published.
Yeah, he said there are some last-minute edits to clean up some of the more egregious items, and that, quote, it could have been much worse. Which makes you wonder, I just read you the final draft. What the hell was in 1.0?
I bet they do here's some American history highlights. The Chinese Exclusion Act.
Right?
Japanese internment camps.
And also...
These are when we were really nailing Christianity.
Yeah. Ryan Walters himself was part of the group that drafted the old social studies standards in 2019, which at the time he was like, these are great. This is going to be engaging and wonderful. But now, because he's literally revising it, it's implying that, yeah, those old standards were shit. Not enough Jesus in them.
Not nearly enough.
So who crafted this document? Well, the 10-person executive review committee, not those educators, the anonymous ones I just mentioned, but the ones at the top approving of all this, include the co-founder of the conservative nonprofit PragerU, a representative from the Conservative American Enterprise Institute, and the president of another conservative group, the Heritage Foundation, along with multiple other right-wing voices. Well, only 3 of the people on the executive committee have ever lived in Oklahoma. There are no Oklahoma public school teachers or administrators on the executive committee.
Wow, really?
None.
That feels like a requirement, does it not?
You would think, not when you're Ryan. This is right after he bought Trump Bibles for AP Gov classes.
Okay, so wait, does he want big government or small government?
Big government, small government, where he gets to decide the part that's small.
I don't like this guy.
Yes. Should we move to Texas? I got a good one for you. You'll like this. You'll like this.
Okay.
Okay. In Texas.
Yes.
In 2023, a Republican supermajority in the Texas House, they passed House Bill 900. It was sponsored by a guy, remember his name. His name is Representative Jared Patterson. Okay. And basically, he said all school libraries have to get rid of any books that are sexually explicit. And I guess sometime between then and now, after the bill was signed into law...
What year again?
What year? 2023.
Okay.
Sometime between then and now, a superintendent of the Canyon Independent School District, his name is Dr. Daryl Flush, he sent an email to someone, I guess, in the state office or maybe to a parent, who said, well, what are you banning? Something like that. And he responded, and this was FOIA'd, I guess, so it went public. He told them, I'm going to read to you here. Thank you for your question. House Bill 900 establishes library standards that restrict content in school libraries, ... This standard for library content prohibits books that have one instance of sexual content as described above. Therefore, HB 900 does not allow numerous books, including the full text of the Bible, to be available in the school library. But he goes on to say, if any student would like to have a Bible, we have strong connections with local churches that are happy to donate a Bible upon request. We are more than willing to assist a student who would like access to a Bible by arranging this with one of our partnering churches. He also said there are Bible stories or portions of the stories from the Bible available in our school library. So maybe this was a response to a parent's question, how come the Bible isn't in your library anymore? And he's like, well, we got parts of it, but also I'm not allowed to have it in there and all of this. So this went public for obvious reasons. Someone was like, this public school district banned the Bible and here's the proof, right? And now, like,
okay,
this
how is this going to
superintendent-
shake out? Who gets to?
the
Who's
superintendent in that letter is like, don't blame me, blame the law, because that's what he's basically doing. And he's not wrong. Like, the Bible has depictions of incest and rape and incestuous rape and allusions to bestiality and other forms of sexual assault and prostitution. Like, if those scenes were in a young adult novel, Christian parents would want it banned. But that's the whole point. They wanted those other books banned, not that one, not their favorite one.
Very
and actually,
leopard eat my face party.
At a school board meeting in early December, one Christian parent was like, you need to make the Bible available to students. And
well, maybe you should try worshiping something a little less racy.
so without explaining what the hell happened, apparently around the week of Christmas, the district told the local news outlet the Bible is back on their shelves. And what they said there is after receiving
redactions through it.
after receiving clarification from Representative Jared Patterson regarding library content, we reevaluated the guidelines and are pleased to have the Bible available in each of our Canyon ISD libraries. So they literally checked with the guy who wrote the bill, like, can we have the Bible or not?
So
and he's like,
cut out a little corner for their Bible.
yeah. And what
boy.
did this guy say? Apparently, they reached out to Patterson about this, and Patterson posted online the letter he sent to the school district's superintendent. Because they must have said, hey, we did what you said in your bill.
Right.
People are mad at us. Why don't you give us some clarification? So what did he say to them? Here's what he wrote back to the superintendent.
I never meant this to be applied to the Bible.
He said, let me be very clear.
Uh-oh.
The Bible.
Maybe you should have been clear when you wrote the law, sir.
Yeah. The Bible and other religious texts are protected under HB 900. Moreover, the Bible does not contain sexually explicit content as defined by HB 900.
Are you sure?
Then he goes on. I honestly cannot grasp how you could arrive at this decision. Perhaps you disagree with our fight against radically explicit content in public schools like
Perhaps
Canyon
indeed.
ISD. He says, to explain himself, in the education code, the Bible is included as enrichment school curriculum due to the importance of the holy text, ... Is there a reason? Oh, I'm sorry. He said, further, I have discovered you did not publicly post that you are banning the Bible from your district, as you posted about removing actual explicit content. Is there a reason behind your lack of transparency? He's trying to spin this on the superintendent. Like, you did this on purpose and you're trying to make me look bad by banning the Bible. You're trying to make me look like a hypocrite. So that's why you didn't tell people you were banning the Bible. Meanwhile, the superintendent's like, I don't know. Someone just tell me what to do so I don't get sued.
I am starting to think that these people are not very bright.
Nope. Let me help you out, by the way. The Texas Education Code that this representative was citing says school districts must offer an enrichment curriculum that includes religious literature, including the Old Testament and New Testament, which is what the superintendent said they were doing. Portions of the Bible are available to students in the library, and those stories may be taught in certain classes if you think it'll be relevant. That's fine. But nothing in the education code that the representative was citing says the full text of the Bible must be available to all students at all times. And if they pass another bill that says no sexually explicit content should be available to students, it's reasonable to think, well, then we should take the whole Bible off our shelves and just leave the parts teachers may want to use unless otherwise specified.
I think they should enforce a full, like, the way they treat Mein Kampf in Germany. You have to, like, fill out a bunch of forms and go to, like, a vault and find the one copy. I think that's how the Bible should be kept in public schools.
You know why else I think the superintendent wanted to play it safe? Because guess what Jared
because
Patterson...
nobody wants to get fucking sued.
Guess what Jared Patterson tweeted over the summer before this law went into effect?
I'm coming for you.
Don't worry. Next session, we're doubling down, including felony charges for superintendents who expose children to sexually explicit content. Your days of sexually indoctrinating minor Texans are numbered. Pew, pew.
What?
So he's like, we're going to go after these superintendents. So this superintendent's
finally,
like...
the real villains
well,
of the story,
right.
the school superintendent.
And so the superintendent's like, well, I guess we'll remove the sexually explicit stuff. Well, so the superintendent removed it from his shelves, and now Jared Patterson's like, why'd you listen to me?
Well, it's... Oh, God, I almost did an extended horse metaphor. It's very much a thing like if you are like boxing people in too much, then they're going to be afraid to make a mistake. So they're going to err on the side of caution because they don't want to be sued. But now and not only do they not going to want to get sued, they don't want to get fucking arrested. So no, they're not going to take a risk about whether or not like it was rape for the Angels to get on what's his face's daughters, or whether or not like it's just. They're so fucking lost in the sauce that they have no idea which way is up anymore. Like I really think that is a huge problem with conservatives. And I think maybe this sort of explains the trans thing of like, there's just so much shit going on, but they managed to lock in on one thing. And that's the real problem, whether it's Dawkins and Co. being obsessed with trans people, or whether it's these people being obsessed with like, oh my God, the school is indoctrinating sex into our kids. They just make up a thing to get mad about and then go so hard on it that it just kneecaps everybody. And so everybody's afraid to step out of line because you're threatening them with lawsuits. Like, you can't both say, like, if you fuck up, I'm going to hold you, Hammett, personally seriously. And also, how could you ever interpret my thing to say this? Like, if you're leaving it up to my interpretation and the consequence of me being wrong is jail time, yeah, dog, I'm going to be pretty fucking conservative with it. These people.
It's the worst.
These fucking people.
So I think I'll stop there for now.
Oh my God. I feel like I ran a marathon.
I know. I have other stories. We'll get to them next time.
I'm like dizzy.
I know. So first of all, if you like this show, go to patreon.com/friendlyatheistpodcast to support it and leave reviews on the iTunes and all that.
Oh yeah, let me do that.
And for the bonus episode, man, I've watched so many movies over the past week. I'm going to tell you about several of them.
Hammett's been talking mad shit about how cultural he is now.
I'm trying so hard.
So hard. If you want to go back, I know 3 hours is a long time, but the Garbage Year in Review podcast was last week. It's always really fun. People seem to really like it. It's very nice to hear. Oh, speaking of this last review, love the Garbage Year in Review. This is from Bind, BHYND. Jessica does a fabulous job accumulating the best and worst as Hemmon sips back to relax. Always long, but always good to help get over the trauma over the past year.
Oh, thank you so much.
That's nice. Also, somebody I'm going to find her name, she picks one of her favorite quote of mine every week and then compiles them and then
posts the
list. At
the
end of the year, she posts the list and it's
in the Facebook group.
Very funny.
Yeah.
And it's like, I was in an urgent care and I was like skimming through it and like laughing to myself at my own stupid witticisms.
Love it.
But yeah, you can always email us, friendlyatheistpodcast@gmail.com. We have a store. I was thinking this year, our resolution, we should focus on the store more.
Yes, a lot of everyone wear your gear.
Well, people...
friendlyatheistpodcast.com, and it says
shop
merch.
Or store or merch. Yeah, somebody suggested a couple like branding shirts like Satan Loves Your Outfit, I think is a thing I said. And just the Oklahoma. I don't know. Will people buy that shit? I don't know.
We'll find out.
We'll talk to you in the bonus.
We'll see you soon.